Former spokesperson for President George W. Bush and first-generation Cuban-American Mercedes Schlapp. Hey, Mercedes, good to see you.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great, thank you. So your father is an immigrant from Cuba?
Yes, that's correct. Actually, both of my parents came from Cuba.
And what did they think? Why did they come to America? Why was that important for them?
Well, clearly it was when the Castro regime came into power and my parents fled Cuba. Actually, my father was a counter-revolutionary and tried to protest against Fidel Castro and ended up in jail for 6 years for speaking up against the dictator. And of course, they took away the properties. And what we have seen in Cuba has been the overtake of government. We're seeing this happen right now in Venezuela, where it's the national system, whether it's a nationalist system on health care, on education, and obviously on private property. And it's all government owned and government run. And so for my father, it was very clear that with his freedoms being suppressed and being in that regime, it was not an option. And when he served his time in jail as a political prisoner, he came to the United States.
So what is your message to Chuck Schumer when you hear him talk about single payer? And what's your message to Congressman Ellison when you hear him talk about how good the health care system is in Cuba compared to the U.S.?
The ignorance of these Democrats like Keith Ellison is it's astonishing. When you look at the Cuban health care system, it's very much two-tiered. You have those that are part of the party elites, the military, foreign tourists who get what they would consider the best medical care in Cuba. And then what are the Cuban people left with? The Cuban people are left with hospitals in disarray, basically, unsanitary hospitals where they have to bring in their own linens, toilet paper. They have trouble finding medicine, aspirin. These individuals, the Cuban people, and their quality of health is just so it's just diminishing, and it's diminished under this nationalist system. So when I do hear Keith Ellison make these comments about and praising the communist system and health care, it really makes me think that they really do not have a clue. When they visited Cuba, and some of these Democrats have gone over to Cuba, some Republicans have too, obviously what the communists do is they only show the best of their hospitals, but they don't really show where the Cuban people are going and where they're getting their services, which are deplorable services for these individuals.
That's why it's so important that Republicans and Democrats get this health care bill right. Mercedes, thank you so much.
There's no question.